I don't think you have to be an avid follower of our podcast to know how much Tarini and I love talking about health and wellness, which is why we're so excited to talk to an expert today. We're talking to Krystal, who is a holistic lifestyle coach, personal trainer, and wellness educator. But also outside of that, she is a really good friend and someone that I'm very happy to have in my life. So we're very excited to have her on today's episode.
My gosh, thank you. That was honestly such a nice introduction. I'm so humbled by that. And thank you so much for having me. I'm such a big fan of your podcast, and I admire the two of you, and everything that you talk about has so much to do with wellness, especially for today.
I promise we don't pay our guests. Krystal's our second
I know.
guest, and I promise we don't pay them to say that they're a fan of our podcast.
Yeah, they truly are. It's true. It's authentic. We didn't make this up.
And that's what I think I love the most about your podcast. It's just so authentic and real.
Oh my God, you're so sweet.
thank
I feel like, are we gonna start crying? Is this
Is this the vibe? No, it's not. But no, thank you so much for being here. I mean, I know that like Nadine said, like wellness is something that we talk about so much. So it's so exciting to have somebody who can provide, like Nadine and I always talk about like our experiences, but provide maybe like a more solidified background of wellness and how you got into wellness and sort of your journey of wellness. But do you want to talk about your health and wellness journey and kind of what inspired you?
Yeah, so my fitness journey started well over 10 years ago. And I mean, when I say 10 years ago, I won't age myself there, but it started back in high school. And I was competing in track and field. But beyond that, I always found a sense of peace and calm when it came to individual sports. And I think that's what really drew me to the gym. And I think my wellness journey really started as a client, a female client in a gym setting, and trying all the things. I was trying like group fitness, classes, aerobics. I was running, doing cardio, doing all the things. So I have lived through, trying all the different types of fad diets out there, all the different, ways of losing weight, gaining muscle. So I've tried all the things. And I think from a client perspective, it was such a journey for me to, interact with others and actually observe and see all the things that women were going through and experiencing in the gym setting. And there was so many things that I saw, like so many gaps within, women and training and women in wellness. And I wanted to be a part of closing that gap. So about a year ago, or no, I'll say about 3 years ago, I really started all of these thoughts started circulating in my mind, and ideas about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to contribute in wellness as a woman with my experience. And about a year ago, I made the decision to leave my corporate job that I was a part of a corporate industry that I was a part of for quite a while, to pursue my passion in health and wellness. So that's just a little bit about my journey.
That's so exciting. Like very scary to do it, but it's so exciting to be on that journey.
Yeah, it is. It was definitely scary. And I mean, we all know, that 2020 was
Yeah.
not the year. It was not. It
Yeah.
was year. And for I won't even touch on the health piece yet, or how it's affected the health sector in 2020. But we're in an economical crisis, so just leaving that security and stability
Mhm.
uh, was a huge risk, and it was very scary. And I think what a lot of people actually don't know is I did a lot of pre-prep and work
Of
um,
course.
a year in advance in preparing myself for that moment and for that move. And I just thought there's no better time than the present when health and wellness is so pivotal and crucial
Yeah.
right now.
Do you find that had the pandemic not happened, it would have taken you a little longer to jump to this new chapter in your life? Or did you find that the pandemic sort of like propelled you into it?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think that definitely the pandemic allowed me the time. It gave a lot of time back. I was a very like go 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 person. I sometimes didn't know really know how to slow down. Always hustling and moving, and I never dedicated the time for something that I had written down, planned out, and wanted to do for 2 years because I just didn't have time. And I think the pandemic allowed that time.
Mhm.
I think what it really also allowed was accessibility
Yep.
for a lot of people. We're in a technologically advanced age, and the access to things became a little bit easier in terms of knowledge, information, education. It allowed me the time and opportunity to do that, to do what I needed to do, to move on to that next stage. So a little bit of both.
That's amazing. Do you find that you've been able to gain traction like through the pandemic?
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a wave of emotions. And I mean, we were in a lockdown, then we reopened, a lockdown,
Wow.
reopened, and I'm sure you two know, a bit of the controversy with all the lockdowns. I mean, I don't know if controversy is the right word, but a lot of small businesses are closed right now. Some people agree, some people don't, and fitness facilities right now are closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very difficult. So before this most recent lockdown, I was planning and from working out of my co-working space, training in a very small private gym. It's a small boutique gym in downtown Toronto. And I was so excited planning all of that. And then I was watching the news to hear an announcement of another lockdown. So again, it was really just about pivoting and shifting. And now I'm gearing a little bit more of my focus to online
Mhm.
in the meantime, and which I think is a great opportunity to prep for, when things open up. Because I think when things open up, fitness for many is going to be very important in people's well-being and ultimately recovering from a post-traumatic year. So
Mm. Yeah.
I
I think the impacts of the lockdown kind of go far beyond just the literal lockdown of like things not being open, but there's such a emphasis on the struggle that it, or not the struggle, but sort of the strain that it puts on like your mental health, which is why I think it is almost like such an opportune time to be in that space and to sort of like be able to provide like such a holistic service, because it's really hard, and the effects that the pandemic and the lockdown in general will have on your mental wellness, like literally your wellness all across, is going to far exceed just the pandemic or even just the year or anything. Like I think that's what's going to be the hardest thing to sort of navigate in a post-pandemic world, as they say.
And I know for us, like we always talk about, and this is especially so in our recent episodes, that we are struggling to find that balance in terms of our wellness and health and wellness as a whole. And like Tarini and I talk about this outside of our podcast too, where it's like we're struggling to find a routine that is fitting for this. I want to say unprecedented, but I don't know how unprecedented it is anymore now that we're a year into this, but this like bizarre moment in our life. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Do you find what would you say are the sort of like the change in importance for health and wellness during the pandemic? And do you find that the people you're speaking to, whether it's clients or other people in the wellness space, how are they pivoting towards making, I guess, total wellness a priority?
I think that, you know, like you hit the nail on the head in terms of exactly how the year has really been on everyone's, mental state and just everyone's mental well-being. And I think that the first thing that I really try to think about when it comes to wellness at home, or what that looks like during this time. And for me, I look at number one is setting boundaries. And I think that when I say that, it goes so much deeper, because we have access, we're always online. Everything is online on social media, and we can go down rabbit holes and our minds can spiral. So I think that placing boundaries, more especially being at home than we were outside,
Yeah.
in the world over there, um, is so important, because we have access to more information, and that's a lot for us to take in. Some of us are not even taking brain breaks. Some people are, logged on to work a lot longer throughout their day. So they're actually saying that, in Canada, people are experiencing more burnout working from home. People are
I've heard
working
that too.
hours. You don't realize when you're sitting to when you're in the comfort of your home that you are not taking a break. You maybe didn't go get lunch. And I'm hearing a lot among the workforce that a lot of companies are trying to take what was in the office and bring it now into the virtual world. And it's not always a sustainable way of living for people,
Mm-hmm.
because being
Yeah.
connected is constantly draining. And I think literally that is the first thing I would say in the wellness journey at home, is creating boundaries for yourself, because that's the first step to setting up your environment and setting up the success that you need, and managing your energy levels as
Yeah.
well.
I think that's something that Nadine and I like talk
I
about.
know,
I'm literally like this idea of setting boundaries, but like
Yeah.
everything is at home. It's like you work at home, you play at home, you hang out at home, you relax at home, you also like work out at home. You like everything is in the four walls of your home. And it is really difficult, I personally find, to set boundaries too, especially with work, because it's so easy to just either have it open, like have your computer open, or just like constantly pop on. And there's this like, I was actually just talking about it with somebody at work on Thursday, where there's this constant need to be available. And it's like, who sets this expectation for you? Like, and it's like everybody's on the same page, where they're like, no, like take your time, take lunch, take this, take that, whatever. But at the end of the day, like there's such a like you literally get anxious, because you're like, no, I need to be accessible at all given times. Like I need to be available because everyone's at home. So like, what are you doing that you're not available? But you're right, like having that firm boundary is really important. And I think every day is different. Like every day's routine is different, but it makes such a big difference when you can kind of compartmentalize your day like that, to be like work, home, even though it's all within home.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the reason, is because when you're at home, the lines get very blurred between work and personal. And that would lead to my next thing, is once you create those boundaries, then you're able to set up an environment, set up a space, a dedicated space, a dedicated time, a disconnect from Zoom, from your phone, from social media, that you can go to and move a bit. Especially during winter, if you can't get outside for a little bit, for like a walk, but just a designated space and time for that in your environment is very, very important. Being at home, I mean, when you were in the office, I mean, you can like run out for lunch and you don't have to worry about anyone calling you. But we want to make sure that when, as we're experiencing that anxiety, it's so easy to feel that anxiety. We take a break and we're like, okay, let me get a quick workout in. But knowing that maybe someone can call me on,
Yeah.
Zoom or Teams, you're like, so when those stress levels are heightened and then you're trying to work out, there's also blurred lines there with how your metabolism rate, the way that you burn fat, your energy level when you engage in a workout, your stress hormones get very confused with what you're working out. So then now your body's saying, okay, well, I'm going to go work out right now, but your body's confused because it's no longer a
Yeah.
pleasurable activity.
Like working out makes you stressed, because now you're like, the neurons that are firing are like, working out equals stress, but actually it should be the opposite.
Exactly. So now you're releasing more stress hormones. So your body can't tell the difference. So it's doing the reverse effect, if anything.
Oh my God.
It's like exhausting. I feel
It
like
is.
to truly unravel like all the ways, but like it is such a good point. It's just so hard to unravel like all the ways in which being at home and being like having this need to constantly be connected. Like it's obviously amazing that we are in a world where, you know, we are able to be constantly connected, unless you're with Bell and then your internet sucks, but otherwise you're able to be constantly connected. But it truly is like damaging for exactly the reason that you said. Like so many lines get blurred. Like you're so, I don't even know what the word is, but you're like, you just personally are like so confused. You're like, and it's just hard because then the things you like doing, you no longer like doing. And then you're like, you just don't derive pleasure the same way. And I think it's very in a time when you're constantly craving some sort of stability because you don't know what the future holds. You don't know what's going to happen. Not even being able to hold on to the things that you know because now everything's been blurred, like that just makes it so much harder to even deal with mental health or to deal with wellness in any way.
I think though that, and like Krystal, I know you mentioned this word too, but like pivot really sticks in my mind. And like we've just been, it's not, it's not like we had this space where we could look into, our routines and question things for ourselves. We've been forced to do that. And that in itself, I feel like has brought me personally a lot of anxiety because it's just realizing that some of the things that I've been doing and the ways that I've been taking care of myself this for most of my life no longer work, and I have to pivot. And I hate change. I'm not someone that does well with change, but in a changing landscape, you don't have I just feel like we don't have a choice. And so that just further adds to the anxiety of this uncertainty.
Absolutely. I mean, I have been there, even as, as active as I am in health and fitness, it was the same thing as soon as the pandemic hit. I mean, I had to really think creatively about ways to pivot and to shift without having access to the gym. A lot of the equipment that I so love and enjoy, I can't use right now. So it's what are the ways around that? And I think it's, having that like self-compassionate understanding. It's going to take time, um, and just finding ways to make things a little bit more, um, a little bit easier, and taking like smaller, simple steps in just getting that body movement going, and stimulating all those happy hormones, will start helping you think creatively in ways that you can shift during this time.
So that being said, what are some things that you've seen are like challenges, but like that's sort of like a common thread between like clients you've had or people you've spoken to in the wellness space? What are some challenges that you see? And then what are ways, like I think we've talked a lot about just like how much the pandemic and like this world has affected our mental health and wellness. What are ways that like we can incorporate better or like not better wellness practices, but like more tailored wellness practices to like the world that we live in right now?
I think that, well, one common thing that I am seeing and hearing is a lot of, I don't have like the equipment, I don't have the things that I need at home, or I'll start soon because I need to order and get some bands. And so a lot of people think that we need all these accessories and equipment to get started. And a lot of the times when we keep telling that story to ourselves, what we're doing is we're just adding another block in the road in front of us. And we already have so many other blocks in the road that we have to keep swerving around right now. So don't add that other block. I think there's no better time to start than now. And I think people underestimate um, what they already have. And I think that is one of the big things for me, is working with what you already have, working with the space you already have. Really all you need is your body. And for me, I focus a lot on a lot of recovery, a lot of mobility stretches, the prep piece towards more intense activity. And a lot of that actually really just involves your body. So there's a lot of ways to like strengthen your body, strengthen your movements, and gain muscle with just your body weight and a mat. So I think it's about reframing that a little bit, that we don't need to like go out and get all the things and create an at-home gym, right?
Yeah.
And it's just
I think
easier for
I
ourselves.
think something that Nadine and I talk about all the time is like how all these wellness trends sort of get co-opted into like this whole, either whether it's like a marketing trend or whether it's like this capitalism trend where everyone's like, no, 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 like you have to like go buy like every single thing. So it's really interesting that you say that, because it is true. Like all you need is yourself. But do you find that a lot, like when people like hop on these quote wellness trends where they're like, no, like I need to go buy all the supplements, like I need to go buy all the equipment, I need to go buy whatever, and you're like, you can just start with like getting better sleep, or like, like you said, like working out with just your body and a mat, versus you having to create this whole home gym, which is like so overwhelming. And then you're like, yeah, I'm just not even going to work out to begin with, and then it just derails the whole point.
Yeah, and that's something that I think can really like hold us back, is thinking like, well, okay, I need to get the right diet plan set up. Let me like get all my like groceries, my list. Let me figure out what type of diet plan I need in order to like lose weight. But then it's like, okay, but I want to gain muscle. I don't have dumbbells at home, or kettlebells at home. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my weights, and I promote women lifting heavy all the time. However, I think the baseline for just getting started is making it a lot simpler, easier, and achievable. And I think
Yeah.
you don't need to have like a set diet plan in place. Again, I mean, I could get into diet plans, but it's really about actually setting up, creating habits, creating better daily habits. You're not going to eat the right things that you want, and you're not going to move the way that you want if you're not getting the right amount of sleep. So you can start there as a baseline and thinking about, okay, I want to focus on getting better sleep. So what are the things that you can put in place now, or what are the habits that you can adopt to start getting better sleep? And that right there is the baseline to creating more energy. Sleep is actually, the timing of your sleep is actually one of the best. I don't know if I want to call it a diet, but you can see almost better results, more sustainable results on changing your sleep habits, like the way that you sleep, and wake up and go to bed, and you're eating in between, not having to think too much about your eating. You can actually see the best results just from that alone. So I think that doing that, like setting up that foundation first, is so crucial. So it's like, if you're waiting for like anything else, in the meantime, start working on the small things that you can do before you engage in all that and all the activity that's coming your way.
I love that because
Yeah.
it's so within our own realm that it's like
And it's so achievable. Like it's not this
exactly.
like humongous thing that you have to do. It's like just focus on small things. But that being said, like how would you go about doing that? Because I feel like for me personally,
Mhm.
a big struggle is sticking to a routine every single day. I feel like every day is different, whether that's like because of work, because of personal, whatever I'm doing, like after work or before work. And so sometimes I find it very hard to have one specific routine.
Mhm.
And then it kind of just is like, oh, well, it ends up being no routine because like every day is different, that I don't even stick to any routine on any given day. So what are some of like, when you're talking about making those, creating routines and like having those smaller habits, how would you like tackle that?
I would say honestly, like for example, like you're thinking, okay, well, you want to sleep better. Think about the time that you go to bed.
Mhm.
About the time that you're aiming to go to bed. Like you're thinking, okay, I want to go to bed 1 hour. I don't know if that's something that you've been thinking about, but an hour.
Mhm.
Uh, I would take that and slice it all the way down and tell yourself, you know what? I'm not going to go for an hour tonight. I'm just going to go for 5 minutes. So just say 5 minutes. So if you tell yourself, I'm going to go to bed just 5 minutes earlier, it sounds a lot more achievable than in 1 hour, right? Like just five
Totally.
5 minutes. And each day, if you add on a little bit more, like a minute by minute each day, you'll notice that within a month period, maybe you're up to like an hour now, an
Yep.
hour. So I think that making things a small and uh, desirable and attractive, that's the right word, small and attractive, is the best way to accomplish like those little habits. So I think it's about telling yourself whatever it is that you're telling yourself now, and just breaking it down into a fraction
Mm.
of the time. And that sounds a lot more exciting and achievable. And then you'll notice that you'll be able to build over time. So yeah.
I
Krystal,
love
I tried your I remember you had and you still do this 7-day program. And I tried it this week and I found it so helpful because everything that you're saying is exactly what's in the program. It's small changes, it's changes to your habits. Even when it comes to sleep, like something that I responded to the most was turning your overhead light an hour before you go to bed. And then the next day it was like, try turning it off 2 hours before you go to bed and sticking to a smaller light to sort of help wind you down. But then also my biggest challenge was the disconnect when it came to your devices. So it was like turn your phone off 15 minutes before you go to sleep. And I find that's my biggest challenge.
Yeah.
There's
I
always something to like, I don't know, there's always something in terms of like staying connected. I don't know what it is, but it's just like I'm tethered to my phone. Do you find and Tarini, I don't know if you like I know we're the same. We literally tagged each other in a meme in like the middle of the night last night. So I'm sure she can contribute to this.
yeah.
But do you find that that is often people's challenge too? It's the disconnect from their devices?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was one of my biggest challenges. And, it's taken me to adjust my sleep time by 2 hours. It took me about, well over 6 months to adopt that habit. And I think one of the things I would recommend, I mean, it's something that we can dive in deeper a little bit later, but thinking about your nighttime routine, like what it is. Like some people are shower at night. Like I love to shower at night.
Yeah.
I shower at night. And like whether you brush your teeth, wash your face, skincare routine, whatever that is. Sometimes I like to also stretch at night, which I'll also mention to clients that stretching at night is a great way to unwind and decompress. So in order to build better habits, it's about setting up your environment. So it's just like you said, turning off the overhead lights, because as you start to dim the lights, that's prepping your brain to think, okay, I'm getting ready to go to bed. I'm calming the mind, I'm getting ready to go to bed. So what else can we do in our environment to set up, set ourselves up for sleep success,
Yeah.
I would say. And maybe that is actually putting your phone down on the charger, maybe set a do not disturb, and then do your nighttime routine. So it's
Mm.
like always aim to maybe do your nighttime routine just before you go to bed, whether that's showering, stretching, or whatever that is, to immediately go into bed. And I think that would help. I actually set my phone to do not disturb. I have it in a place that's very hard for me to reach. So like when my alarm goes off in the morning, it's like I have to really run to go get it. But I would say leaving your routine for after you put your phone away. I think
Mm.
that turning off your notifications really, really helps.
So many things about what you talk about building routines is actually not just the act of doing it, but like rewiring the way your mind thinks about it, which is so interesting because it's like it seems like it's such a like hard like big thing to do where you're like I'm rewiring my mind to think about whatever, but it it is just like real, like it's like little things, like little changes, like something like doing your nighttime routine right before you go to bed versus doing it and then unwinding.
Mhm.
Because I think like talking about being on your phone all the time, Nadine, like I've seen a lot about this where people, it's almost as if I don't remember what it's called. It's called like revenge.
Oh my God. Yes, I've heard about it. Yes, yes.
Yeah, and it's basically the idea that like you are on your phone or like you spend so much time at night like doing things that you would want to do because you feel like you don't have time during the day. Like you feel like your hours aren't yours during the day. And so you like are like taking it back almost at nighttime, but then all that does is like sabotage you for the following day, because then you don't go to sleep on time, and then you don't have enough hours, and then you feel like the day isn't yours, and then you like are back in this cycle. But yeah, Nadine, like I think part of why like we're both up at like literally 2 a.m. tagging each other in like memes, literally last night, is because it's a form of winding down. Like I always struggle with this because being on my phone is like so fun when you're just hanging out, and it's a form of like winding down and kind of like taking a break. But you actually need to wind down from your phone, because looking at memes, like having the blue light, like whatever, is actually stimulating my brain to like keep going and like
Yeah.
keep staying awake. And yeah, no,
It's
like
a very double-edged sword. Like you're disconnecting from your day life, which is work, but you're actually not disconnecting from your device. So
yeah,
it's this like never-ending cycle. And we live in a world now where it's so driven by screens. And it's like if you're not on your phone, you're on your laptop. If you're not on your laptop, you're on your TV, and it's quite tiring. So like having these small wins, for lack of a better word, and having routines between what you do, so it doesn't have to be like a one large thing, it can be like a set of smaller routines, I think would really help. Like everything you're saying, Krystal, I'm taking in, because I just find it so, it's hitting very close to home. And Tarini and I have talked about this so much, and it's funny because like our podcast is all about candid conversation, and our candid conversation is us complaining to each other how we don't want to be in this like state that we're in. And so we go on our podcast about it, but we don't have any like next steps. Like, what are we going to do? And so this is extremely helpful.
yeah.
And that's, I'm glad. And I think that's the thing, is that we always think about, you know, the outcome, and we like fantasize about, okay, well, what we like, we all complain. We'll all complain. I'm like, I wish it was like this. I wish it was like that. I'd probably feel better if I did it like this. So you want to make sure that you have a system, right? It's about the system in place that you want to be solid, you know, to get you that better outcome. And I think a couple things that to extend on that would be, you know, add in a journal, in your life, whether, you know, if you're not a big on journaling, I mean, it could be a digital journal that you fill out in the morning, but write down like how you feel, like when you do those changes or make those small changes, like if you power down your device, make a mental or written note about how you actually feel. And the nights that you don't honor your sleep time,
Mm-hmm.
take another note, and then see how you feel, and you'll actually notice a difference. And then, you know, the second thing to something that you had brought up that I was thinking about was, another thing was social media. For a lot of people, it's very, you know, it's fun, it's our way to decompress and, you know, mentally check out. And then there are many people out there, and ourselves, and ourselves included, and we may not even realize it, but there is a lot, you know, social media can be also a very scary place as well. There's content out there that we may not realize that is causing a lot of fear and anxiety as well. And if we start to power down at the end of the night with that fear and anxiety and question and comparison, and you know, seeing all those things that are going on in the world, when, you know, the news and all of that, that takes a toll on your quality of sleep as well, right? In terms of how your mind is shutting down. So
I'm wondering if you can speak to your experience, you know, being a Black woman in the wellness space. And, you know, we talk a lot about what the wellness industry has become. And so I'm wondering if you can speak a little about your experience within it.
I mean, well, first of all, you know, being a woman in the fitness industry, it's it's challenging, especially when you see such an industry that's very male dominated. You know, you'll even, and I'm not saying that female clients should be going to female trainers, you know, but a lot of there are a lot of female clients who do gravitate towards male trainers, and I think that is sometimes how they are may portray themselves at the gym or online right now. And I think, you know, with a lot of female trainers, and now especially when you add on being a Black female trainer, it's like, how do we get ourselves seen in that same light, that we are that go-to person? Because now now you're adding on another layer of almost having to prove yourself that I am the one, that I can be the one. Because I mean, when we open up Instagram or we open up Google and we look at female trainers out there, we don't really see much diversity. We don't see many Black female trainers on that Google Images, you know, search, or on Instagram and all the hashtags. And so it is very challenging. However, I think that there's a lot of opportunity, especially now, being able to coach more online. There's more opportunity for Black women to showcase what they have, to draw people in through that platform, as opposed to, you know, the big massive fitness facilities that were out there pre this virtual world. So there's lots of opportunity and for that. Yeah.
It also, like, I think, you know, it does set you apart in a way, because something that I notice a lot, it's interesting that you say that, like, being a trainer, that's something that's very male dominated. Because, you know, before the pandemic, I was going to a gym and definitely 100% see that. But I find that, and you can let me know if you what you think, but I find that the wellness, specifically the wellness industry, is very is dominated, but it's very white female dominated. And so a lot of the wellness, you know, people that you see, or a lot of the wellness things that you see are like through the lens of white women, or how they view wellness. And I also think that, you know, wellness in general is very different, and there's so many different indicators of wellness that do depend on your culture or your race, or really like what makes you you, or makes you unique. And but a very clear one of that is, when people talk about wellness, they often think about, you know, like working out. But if you are not white, like, your body will never look like that, because you, like, that's not your body type. And I think that's something that I not necessarily struggle with, but I notice it so much, because they'll be like they're portraying this, like, people sell like wellness, whether it's workouts or whatever, and they're like, oh, and they're like the face of their brand, and you're like, yeah, but it's so hard, because you're like, people will never look like that solely because they're just not white women. Like, you're not, like, your body type is just so different. And I think that having somebody who can provide a different perspective is, one, very refreshing, for lack of a better word, because you're right, like, that diversity doesn't exist, and it's something that I notice a lot. But also, like, I think that idea is what turns a lot of women, especially, off of wellness, or off of working out, because the whole, like, yo-yo dieting, and like coming back and working out and then completely falling off the train, and then coming back and completely falling off the train, is because you don't achieve those results. But it has to be framed in a way that's like, but these are the results for you, versus like, these are my results that I'm going to give to everybody. And I feel like, being a Black woman, you can understand that and like appreciate that, but also that's such an opportunity for you to like speak to and provide so much better of like a support system, or wellness space for those women.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right, Tarini. You said it perfectly. I think that right now, I mean, like the fitness industry and what it's selling, or health and wellness, I mean, that's a multi-million
Yeah.
$1 million sell that they're selling everybody. And I think there is no one size fits all. And that's the thing. That's what a lot of people are selling, is the one size fits all. And we also have to remember too, you know, with white female trainers, or just white female coaches, or yoga instructors, you know, we look on Instagram and we see that everyone's doing like their back bend and their crow's pose and handstands. And, you know, a lot of women will look at that and be like, I don't have that body type. My body can't bend in that way. Exactly to your point. And one thing that is another added layer in that, when it comes to, you know, diversity, is, you know, a lot of women from other ethnicities, women of color, you know, our cultures and our background, we have all different types of food and, you know, different types of
Yep.
celebrations within our culture. So our diet is going to look different. Our body makeup is different. Our diet is going to look different. And who are we to say that, you know, women of color should be adopting a diet that other white women are? You know, not at all. You can't take that piece away because that's a part of our human connection as well. And then another thing we also have to think about too, in terms of like what a lot of, you know, white female trainers or coaches are selling out there as well, is the accessibility to food. And I think that, you know, a lot of people of color, there's many people of color out there who don't have access to the same types of healthy foods, the organic greens and all of that. They need to work with what they have in the area that's around them. And that plays another role into our body makeup and how, you know, our size and our weight. And we can't shame that. We just have to find ways to make it more accessible for people of color. And I think that's not as represented as much in the fitness industry. The one great thing I can say is, I mean, I have been building, you know, my community and, you know, growing it and being a part of other new communities. And I think that's the one thing with the online world, what the online world has now allowed is the exposure of women of color, and not even just women of color, but women of all different sizes,
Yeah.
on and promote and showcase what they have to offer. And I'm noticing that, I mean, it's social media is still, you know, can be a very scary place, but I'm still noticing that there is, you know, community of women who are out there supporting each other, and women of all different sizes and women of color who are now like feeling that confidence to go in and take that yoga class, because now there's so many trainers and coaches out there who are promoting for all bodies, all body types, and not shaming and not forcing that diet plan down people's throats, because
Yeah.
we all have to remember that not everyone can afford and have access to that diet plan. So, you know, there's more of that I'm seeing. And I think that is one huge advantage, being able to coach online, because in the fitness facilities at the gyms, and I'm not going to call out the gyms, but those big corporate gyms, you didn't really see much of that. And I
Yeah.
get that for my female clients, that the gym is a scary place for them. That's what holds a lot of people back. They're scared and they're intimidated to go into the gym. They don't have the confidence because of what they see. But now the online world has opened up all this avenues, just like it's so colorful when you go online now. And I think if you are willing to see, these people see what they want to see, you are willing to look for it, you will find it, and you will be able to connect with a trainer that is aligned with you, a coach that is aligned with you. And I think there are more and more women of color showing up for
Yeah.
their fellow women in the community.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think like everything you said is like it's something that I think about a lot. You know, before the pandemic, I also was working with a trainer, and I think I just like personally got very lucky that I was able to find somebody who was kind of like, okay, we need to work within like your what works for the type of food that you eat, or like what is realistic or doable for you. But it's something that my mom and I talk about a lot, because while I may have just gotten lucky, like that's not the norm, right? Like that's not the norm where you find people like that. And so that is, I think, such an advantage of like what you said, the digital being able to like take that digitally, because it, you just have a greater breadth of like options or like or choices, or how you can go about finding somebody who works for you.
Yeah, you can build a community, you
Yeah.
know, build communities, and that we didn't have access to before.
So that being said, what are some benefits? Because you know you've talked a lot about having this community online, but what are benefits of going through a coach versus trying to do things yourself?
I mean, I think that, you know, there are pros and cons to both. I think that, you know, if you have the tools So when I say tools, I mean like the resources, you know, to access, you know, like workouts or meal plans, just educate yourself. That's really good. The one thing I would say is there's a lot of information out there, a lot, and we can sometimes like spiral, you know, and down, you know, all these different paths that are not sustainable for us, that don't suit us, that's not meant for our body type, our lifestyle. So it, you know, training on your own or start seeking like the health and fitness advice on your own can sometimes just be a little bit overwhelming. And I think, you know, to piece it all together and just to really close the gap on what is meant for you right now in the long term. And I'm saying this from the heart because you know, I want people listening to understand that there's ways, you know, not shortcuts, but don't take the long route. I took the long route of just trying to discover and try all the things, but there is a way and there is something for you. And I think having a coach is where you can really be able to take all of that and create something holistic for yourself that is sustainable, that will last you for the rest of your life. So, yeah.
So I like one of the things that I really like about your like approach, I guess I'll say, is that it's very holistic.
Mhm.
So what does that look like? Like what does holistic wellness mean to you? Like we've talked a lot about, you know, obviously training and um or like making habits, but what does that true holistic wellness look like to you? Or what does it mean to you?
So it's really just it's everything. It's your mental well-being, it's your emotional well-being, it's your social connection, your physical well-being. It's everything. And I think that they all, when one of that piece of the puzzle in your life is off balance, the rest is off balance. So I think it's so important that we look at our overall well-being,
Mhm.
all of those pillars that we need for our health, to be in sync in order to live a healthy lifestyle. So to me, it's about adopting, an overall healthy lifestyle.
I love that.